In the summer of 1930, the world gathered in Uruguay for a tournament unlike anything ever attempted before. 13 nations competed in the very first FIFA World Cup. The host nation didn't just organize the spectacle, they owned it. In the final, Uruguay faced fierce rivals Argentina and delivered a performance for the ages, winning 4-2. Football had its first world champions, and the world had a new obsession. Every great story has a first moment, and for the World Cup, it arrived early in France's opening match. Lucien Laurent received the ball, composed himself, and struck, sending the very first goal in World Cup history into the net. A moment frozen in time. The opening note of a symphony that would play on for generations. Laurent's name may not echo through the ages, but his place in history is permanently sealed. For years later, the World Cup crossed the Atlantic for the first time, arriving on Italian soil. Vittorio Pozzo's Azzurri stepped up as both hosts and champions, marching through the tournament with clinical precision. Italy claimed the title, making 1934 a landmark moment. The first World Cup ever held in Europe, and the first to be won on it. A new chapter had opened in the story of the beautiful game. Repeating as world champions is one of football's greatest challenges, but Italy made it look achievable. At the 1938 World Cup in France, Vittorio Pozzo guided the Azzurri to a second consecutive title, a feat no nation has achieved since. Their back-to-back triumphs cemented Pozzo's legacy as one of the greatest coaches the game has known, and established Italy as the undisputed force of pre-war international football. Then the world changed. As the Second World War swept across nations, football fell silent. The 1942 World Cup never happened. The 1946 edition never happened. For 12 years, from 1938 to 1950, the tournament went dark, suspended by a conflict that reshaped civilization itself. When the beautiful game finally returned, the world it came back to was a very different one from the one it had left behind. In 1950, Brazil built the Maracanazo, one of the largest stadiums ever constructed, and packed it with close to 200,000 people for what was expected to be a coronation. Brazil needed only a draw against Uruguay to take the title. But football refuses to follow scripts. Uruguay struck the decisive blow. The stadium fell into silence. The Maracanazo, the Maracana shock, became one of the most devastating moments in sporting history. Buried within that same 1950 World Cup was a result that left the football world speechless. England, entering their very first tournament as heavy favorites, faced a part-time United States side that nobody gave a chance. The final score, 1-0, to the Americans. It remains one of the most shocking upsets in football history. England's defeat sent shockwaves through the establishment that reverberated for decades to come. Hungary arrived at the 1954 World Cup as arguably the greatest team ever assembled, unbeaten in years, having already dismantled West Germany 8-3 in the group stage. A final victory seemed a formality, but in the rain in Bern, West Germany came back from 2 goals down to win 3-2. The miracle of Bern was complete, one of football's most staggering reversals of fortune, and a moment that defined a generation. If the miracle of Bern defined 1954's drama, one group stage match captured its sheer spectacle. Austria and Switzerland played out a game that defied belief. 12 goals scored in 90 breathless minutes of end-to-end football. Austria prevailed 7-5, setting a record that has never been matched. To this day, no match in World Cup history has produced more goals than that extraordinary afternoon in Lausanne. Brazil arrived in Sweden in 1958 as genuine contenders, but nobody could have predicted what was about to unfold. A 17-year-old barely known outside his homeland stepped onto the biggest stage in football and proceeded to rewrite the rules of possibility. His name was Pelé. He scored 6 goals in 4 matches, dazzled the world with skill that seemed barely human, and helped Brazil claim their first ever World Cup title. A legend had arrived. Sweden, 1958. France arrived as contenders, but nobody could have predicted what just Fontaine was about to achieve. In 6 matches, this lethal striker simply could not stop scoring. 13 goals, a number so extraordinary that nearly 7 decades on, not a single player has come close to matching it. The World Cup's greatest individual scoring record, set in just one tournament, stands to this day as perhaps the most untouchable achievement in football history. Chile, 1962. Brazil arrived as defending champions, but fate dealt them a cruel hand when Pelé, the brightest star in football, was forced off the pitch with injury. Into the void stepped Garrincha, the magical winger, and he was simply sensational, twisting defenders inside out, tormenting entire backlands with his unique dribbling style. Garrincha carried Brazil through to glory. For the second consecutive tournament, the Selecao lifted the trophy, proving they were far more than just one man. Wembley, July 30th, 1966. The moment English football had always dreamed of. England faced West Germany in the final on home soil, and what a final it was. The Germans equalized in the final minute to force extra time, but England dug deep and pushed harder. When the final whistle blew at 4-2, the roar that erupted from Wembley shook the ground itself. England were world champions for the one and only time in their history. In that same extraordinary final, one man rose above all others: Geoff Hurst. He scored not one, not two, but 3 goals in a World Cup final, a feat so rare that for decades he stood utterly alone in the record books. His third, smashed into the top corner in the dying seconds, prompted one of sport's most iconic commentaries: a hat-trick in a World Cup final. An achievement that, for the longest time, belonged to him and him alone. Yet 1966 had already delivered one extraordinary story before the final was even played. Weeks before kickoff, the Jules Rimet Trophy, the most coveted prize in sport, was stolen from a public exhibition in London. Police searched frantically. The nation held its breath. Then came the most unlikely hero in football history, a dog named Pickles. Out for a walk in South London, the collie sniffed out the trophy wrapped in newspaper beneath a garden hedge. The World Cup could go on. England 1966 delivered another shock that sent tremors through the football world. North Korea, unknown, untested, making their first ever World Cup appearance, lined up against the formidable Italians, who had twice been crowned world champions. Nobody gave them a chance. What happened next became the stuff of legend. A single goal, defended with fierce determination, sealed a 1-0 victory. Italy were eliminated by a nation on their World Cup debut. The biggest upset of the tournament had arrived. Mexico, 1970. The sun blazed, the pitches were fast, and Brazil were on fire. Led by Pelé at the peak of his powers, surrounded by artists like Jairzinho, Tostao, and Rivellino, they played football that felt like music. Every touch purposeful, every movement flowing. They won every match, scoring 19 goals. So dominant were they, the Jules Rimet Trophy was awarded to Brazil permanently. That 1970 side is still revered as the greatest team to ever grace a World Cup. Mexico 1970 was a tournament of firsts. For the very first time, the World Cup was broadcast in color, and suddenly, football looked entirely different. The brilliant gold of Brazil's shirts, the vivid green of the pitch, the drama rendered in dazzling new detail for living rooms around the globe. And referees were given new tools, red and yellow cards, introduced to bring order and clarity to discipline on the pitch. Football was modernizing in real time, in every sense. Yet amid Brazil's brilliance in 1970, one moment stands above all others, and it wasn't even a goal. Pelé met a cross and powered a downward header that seemed certain to hit the net. He had already begun to celebrate. But England goalkeeper Gordon Banks somehow flung himself across the goal mouth and scooped the ball to safety. Pelé himself called it the greatest save he had ever witnessed. Just one extraordinary reflex, and a permanent place in football's history. But perhaps the single greatest match in World Cup history came in the 1970 semifinals. Italy against West Germany, scoreless through 90 minutes. Then, in extra time, the goals came in a torrent, 5 and 30 extraordinary minutes. Lead changes, chaos, breathtaking brilliance. Italy ultimately triumphed 4-3 in a match so spectacular that a plaque at Mexico City's Azteca Stadium still commemorates it as the game of the century. Some matches transcend sport. This was one of them. In 1974, the Netherlands arrived with something the football world had never seen: total football. A fluid, fearless system orchestrated by Johan Cruyff, where any player could occupy any position at any moment. The Dutch dazzled every team they faced. But in the Munich final, West Germany had answers. On home soil, the hosts hit back with clinical precision and lifted the trophy, denying Cruyff the one prize he never won. After Brazil won the Jules Rimet Trophy for the third time in 1970, FIFA's rules were clear: it was theirs to keep forever. The original cup was gone. So for 1974, a brand new trophy debuted, an 18-karat gold sculpture depicting two figures lifting the globe. The FIFA World Cup trophy made its first appearance on German soil, and it remains the most coveted object in all of sport to this day. When Argentina hosted the 1978 World Cup, the country was under military rule. The tournament played out in a deep shadow of politics and controversy. But on the pitch, Argentina found their hero in Mario Kempes, whose goals carried the hosts all the way to the final. They beat the Netherlands in extra time. A nation erupted. Argentina were World Cup champions, but the questions surrounding that triumph have never gone away.